Brandon, welcome to the show.
Yo, what's up, man? Thank you so much for having me. How you doing today?
I am doing great. How about yourself?
Oh man, I'm blessed and I'm excited to talk to you, man. Let's do it.
How can we start to thrive in our romantic relationships and relationships in general?
Oh man, you're gonna get me on my soapbox with this one. So I don't know where you stand with this, and we can definitely debate it, but I hate the red pill and the blue pill thing, man. I think it's more of a value thing. What are your values that you want to have in your relationship? You have a lot of promiscuous women out here, right? But guess who's making them promiscuous? The men are. Who subscribes to the OnlyFans accounts? Who goes out and sleeps with a girl on a one night stand? We do. So what are your values? Do you care about your family? Do you love your family? Do you respect your woman? Do you want to grow and be the best successful man you can in your business or whoever you work for? Like, what are your values? And I think that's really one big thing that I'm trying to fix in, any relationship I have, not just a romantic one, but especially in romantic ones, always being able to communicate, being a person of value and really trying to become the best man I can be every day. And if I do that, then I feel like that'll trickle down into my relationship.
I would very much agree with that statement. So when I first got into the whole just self-improvement and making my life better, I could confidently say that I fell a little bit victim to the red pill and blue pill ideas. But as time went on and as I developed personal relationships with women in my life and talked to more people, that view started to change drastically. And I agree with you on the point that the space online is seeming to make it so black and white of you need $1 million to have a successful relationship. If not, she's going to leave you. She's going to cheat on you. And if you don't have that, you're blue pill, you're beta, girls aren't going to like you, especially if you're a 13, 14, 15-year-old guy who's starting to go through puberty. You haven't, had any relationships with women yet, but you're starting to become sexually interested and, mentally interested. And this is a very dangerous ideology to adopt into your life, because if you go into the playing field, I'm 15 years old, I need to make sure I make as much money as possible, because if I don't, then no girl's ever going to love me, et cetera, et cetera. And so you're always going to live in this state of lack, and you're going to be projecting your beliefs about the world and how you view women as a whole onto the world, and therefore you are most likely going to attract those toxic women, the negative women, because they're out there, right? But there's also toxic men, right?
Correct.
There's toxic people. There's a few ideas from the red pill, making your life better, going to the gym, like stuff like that, basic stuff. It's helpful. It's positive. The whole men's space online went from genuinely trying to make men better, and you sprinkled some relationship advice in there, and now it's very much become, you should go to the gym and make money and stuff, but it's really about, okay, you got to watch out for the women, and everything's about women.
Yeah.
Women are important, but they aren't your life.
Everybody has Instagram, everybody has TikTok, so they're getting fed all this bull crap. But it doesn't matter about red pill or blue pill. To me, it's like, if you find out how to operate in your purpose, what's more alpha male than doing that? Operating in your purpose, because once you do that, you're going to have the confidence. If you operate in your purpose, you're probably going to have money. And even if you're not a millionaire, you're probably still doing well for yourself because you're operating in your purpose. And if you just really focus on your values and the best person you can be, that's going to attract a way hotter woman that has values as well than just being a millionaire. I mean, look, being a millionaire is great and stuff. Any millionaire can go get any girl, but does she really love you? Does she really value her family? Does she really value the things that you value? Is she a Christian? Like, if that's what you're into, everybody loves different things, but does she follow God? Is she going to have all the values that you want to have? And a millionaire can get any girl. Yeah, that's cool. But does she actually even love you for you?
But the argument could also even be, taking it further, that you can't get any girl. You can get a lot of girls, because a lot of girls will be willing to, just because you're a millionaire, sleep with you or go on dates with you. But there are some women out there who genuinely don't really care too much about your money, and you aren't required to be a millionaire for them to go out with you and stuff like that. To your point, those types of women aren't going to be the ones that you're attracting. The ones that, for the most part, love you for you, genuinely care about you as a human being and not just what you're providing. That's going to be difficult to come across if you're stuck in the, I make a lot of money, I can get any girl, oh my God, I'm just going to sleep with all these girls. And it's going to be very difficult to meet the love of your life, you could say. I would argue that you would start to feel very lost, because indulging in hookup culture is not fulfilling. It can be fun at first, but in the long run, it's definitely not the fulfilling path.
It's definitely not. And that's exactly what I was about to tell you. Literally today in today's society, so many people focus on the acquisition of women, but not the retention, right? Of actually staying with somebody and working through things. The only thing that I wouldn't forgive is cheating. Yeah, you and your girl are going through something. Don't leave. Work it out together. And people don't do that anymore. And that's why you see marriages, a percentage of marriages, I think 70% are failing. It's because a lot of people aren't focusing on the retention. They just focus on acquiring, getting what they want, which might be the 10 they think she is that doesn't have the values, and then they end up losing the person.
I believe you and I would agree on this. A girl who looks like a 10 out of 10 is not actually a 10 out of 10. She can be, but she needs to have those other values that align with yours in order for her to reach that status. Like, realistically, if you're putting all of the points together of her values, her looks, combining it all together, even if she's a 10 out of 10 looks wise, she's really only a 5 out of 10 until she
Correct.
has those actual other value points of mental attraction and value sharing and stuff like that. I think another reason as to why men and women seem to be struggling so much both with dating nowadays is because so many people have more options than ever, right? Okay, let's say you're having a big fight with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you guys are going through shit together, and you're mad at her, you don't want to deal with the situation. Okay, well, we have Snapchat, we have Tinder, we have Instagram, we have all these other apps. It's like, okay, well, why don't I just go with someone else, right? If I'm dealing with something and I don't want to take responsibility for our relationship, well, fuck it. Let me just go find someone else, right? Because I can, right? But this is the issue. We could say that social media has brought some positives with dating and meeting people, but there's also brought a lot of negatives. People are so much more on edge with, is he or she talking to someone else? You know, is there anyone else I have to worry about? People are trying to go through their girlfriend or their boyfriend's phone and look all this. Nobody trusts each other anymore. I've never once in any of my past relationships asked my girlfriend, hey, can I go through your phone so I could see, you know, what you're up to, right? I think if you genuinely have the feeling that you need to do that, probably aren't with the right person. It's either that or you're just so stuck in your limiting mindset that every girl is going to be like that, so you have to do it. But either way, you're failing.
It's the instant gratification. People want to feel great now. So like in a relationship, they're not going through things with their partner anymore because they can get on Tinder, they can get on Hinge, they can get on Bumble, they can get on Instagram and find somebody literally in the next hour they could be with a whole different person, right? So that instant gratification, that's the one thing I hate is that, you know, with the internet, you can find anything you want right then and there instead of like having to work for it or do anything. Everything's so instant this day and age. And I think that really changes a lot. But there's something else I want to get off my chest because I've been seeing this a lot lately. For the women, please stop leaving good men. And let me explain what I mean. You women will stay with a bum for years who cheats on you, who talks down to you, who doesn't do well for you. And then you finally meet a good man. And I'm not saying he's going to be perfect. And then the one time he messes up, you're ready to leave. You're like, I don't know if I could do this anymore. But what's the difference? The biggest thing I feel like is women don't know how to really handle a good man because they're so used to the toxicity. They're so used to all that by the time they finish with a dude who's not a good person, and then they get to when they're like, oh, if he messes up, I'm done. Trying to be on this strong girl stuff, right? And then they're losing good men because of their trauma in the past, but they're not giving that good man a chance. That good man that's actually trying to communicate with them. That good man that wants to be there when something's wrong. That good man that's gonna be loyal. And that's not, it's not big in this day and age at all. But I've been seeing a lot lately, good men losing women. I hate the red pill stuff. Only the thing is, oh, if her body counts over 5, you can't be with her. If her body counts over 10. Like, dude, everyone has a past, right? Good or bad. And I feel like, yes, there are bad women out there, but some women do need help. Some women do need someone to go through some things with them for them to become better women. Just like we want a woman to be there and create a safe space for us to become better men, right? Why can't we do that for the women who may have had a promiscuous past or been there and done that life, but, they want a family. They want to have a good husband. They want to do all that because I see so many good men going through hard stuff and going through heartbreak because, women are leaving them and they're not getting their fair shake, and it drives me nuts.
It's definitely a rising issue. As much as technology has advanced and people have seemed to become more connected than ever, men are more lonelier than ever, and it's only getting worse.
One of the main reasons that men are dying so much earlier than women, I believe it's 6 to 7 years earlier, is because the number one cause is feeling alone. and that's causing stress, heart attacks. And that's what I hate about red pill. I'm not going to say any names on here, but there's a lot of red pill people that say never get married, don't do this. But the number one cause of men dying when they're a little bit older and being earlier than women do when they're older is because they're alone. Mm-hmm. So why are we teaching men how to do that if they're going to die earlier when they're being alone?
Psychologists say loneliness kills your body and your mind faster than any other disease on the planet. We have the hustle culture now, which in some regards can be good. Work hard, put your head down, work, and neglect everybody else until you've made it. The issue with this is that relationships matter. You're a human being. You desire social connection, whether you want to admit it or not. It's required for you to thrive, right? So if you say, I want to become a millionaire, and you put your head down, and let's say it takes you 10 years to get there, you're telling me you're going to spend 10 years completely alone by yourself, and then once you gain $1 million, you're finally going to feel fulfilled and you're going to be happy? It's fucking horseshit. You'll have $1 million and be completely alone. I would argue that 9 out of 10 people who do that and take that path will feel lonely and die at a pretty early age.
I mean, the suicide rate's high all over, but when you look at celebrities who have all the money in the world, who have all the connections in the world, all the access to anything they've ever wanted, right? Why are they still killing themselves? Because they still feel alone. That just shows you right there that all the money in the world doesn't mean everything. I could get a $150 million contract, but if they told me I had to move across the world and not spend time with my mom, my grandmother, my girlfriend, I wouldn't take it. Right? Because at the end of the day, what am I going to look back on? Oh yeah, I have $150 million and no one to spend it with. Or look back on the memories that, and look around and see, 30 grandchildren run around because I had a big family and I made an impact on the world. Money's important. Don't get me wrong. You need to have money to take care of your family, your kids. You need to be able to support yourself. It's 100% not everything. And we both know that's the main catalyst for all of this nowadays. It's just money.
The women's part and leaving the good guys. I've been able to come upon some ideas and research of why this could be the case. And this goes for men in cases too, because, there's also the rising culture of men not being able to commit into relationships and just mess around with people. We're all pretty familiar with the concept of daddy issues, right? This applies to if a girl doesn't have, a father that's a father at all, or a father that's emotionally there for her. There's also a flip side to this that nobody talks about, which is mommy issues. And this is men's side of things. Whereas if you have a poor relationship with your mother, this affects your romantic relationships and allows you to fall short in some areas. The psychology in part behind the daddy issues and women, staying with somebody for a long time that treats them like garbage and then not being able to stay with someone that treats them well, we can say that the brain is comfortable with what we have experienced and what we know. Let's say you're a girl, for example, your father wasn't really there for you, or he didn't spend much time with you, wasn't there at all, or just didn't emotionally connect with you. This leaves an impact on you. All around, a girl needs a good relationship with her mother and her father. A guy needs a good relationship with his father and mother. The rising culture of single moms saying that, oh no, he doesn't need a man in his life, or he or she, my son or daughter, doesn't need a father, blah, blah, blah. Now, of course, if you're in that situation and you're a single mother and you don't have a partner, okay, I'm not bashing you for that. I'm just saying, psychologically speaking, in order for a girl or a boy as a child to thrive, he needs a mother and a father.
So let me ask you this question, though. So yes. So look, I completely understand. My dad wasn't in my life. And my grandfather walked out on me. I've been a man of the house since I was 12 years old, right? So I completely understand, not having a father in your life, because I had to learn how to be a man on my own. But here's my question: that yes, they have daddy issues, and yes, their father wasn't there to show them, what a real man, how they're supposed to be treated. But that still starts with us. But this is my question to you: that doesn't still make it okay, right? Just because, and everybody has a sob story. Trust me, everybody's been through something, right? But that doesn't mean, my dad wasn't in my life. That doesn't mean I'm out here treating women terribly, beating on women, talking down to women. So I don't like that excuse. And yeah, that might sound harsh, but I'm like, at the same time, you've got to decide what type of person you want to be. And that comes back to your values, right? So just because you didn't have a father in your life does not mean you can stay with the guy who treats you terribly. And then when you finally get a good man, run away from him because you don't know how to act with it. I really think you should stay there and work on it. And girls say they want a good dude until they get one. And then magically they're not ready for it anymore. To do something you've never done, you got to go somewhere you've never been. Jump into the deep end, really try to embrace yourself and having a good, positive relationship. And I think that would change a lot. Going back to what you said, though, it does start with us as the men still. Us not being present in women's lives. If you do the crime, you do the time. If you get a woman pregnant, raise the child. even if it's not in a 2-parent household, still make it, to where you guys are cordial and the child see y'all loving each other so they can grow up and be a more effective person in society. And when it comes to relationship, they're not out here giving more people trauma, because it's really just a revolving door if you think about it.
Mhm.
Girl doesn't have father. Girl gets boyfriend, gets treated poorly. Girl finds good man, breaks good man's heart. Good man turns bad, right? Because now he's been hurt so many times, he turns into that guy that he never wanted to be. And now it's just a revolving door, because it's never going to end, because not one of the sexes is stepping up to stop the problem.
It all goes back to a lack of awareness. Her brain is comfortable with being with a guy who doesn't treat her right. So when a good guy comes along, like you said, she doesn't know how to handle it and she leaves, because her brain is so used to the other thing where it's like, okay, well, let's just go back to that, right? And it's not a conscious process. It's subconscious, it's unconscious, and it's her mind's way of coping with the experiences that she has or hasn't had. And
yeah, but how do we fix that? In your opinion, how do we fix that?
If we can sit down as women and men, and whatever issues we're going through or past traumas or experiences we've had, we've developed a culture of noticing that we might have a little problem with something, and we have this little bit of awareness for it, but we say, oh, don't worry about it, and we shove it to the back and we throw it away, right? And it's still there, it's still lurking in your mind, but you're not aware of it anymore. But if we can recapture the awareness, if a guy could sit down with themselves and say, hey, this is how I think about most men, this is how I think about most women, this is how my experiences usually go. Okay, why is this happening? All right, well, I remember John treated me like shit 2 years ago in our relationship, and he did this and this, and that made me feel this way. And then you just psychologically deconstructing it for you, and sometimes having a conversation with somebody about those topics can help as well, because giving each other different insights, or even if you're in a relationship, to be able to do that. Because I think quite literally everything goes back to a lack of consciousness and lack of awareness. That's why women are leaving good men. Men have issues and aren't able to commit to girls. We are able to discover why we're feeling the way we are and why we're acting the way we are, but we decide to not look deep enough, and that's where our issues proceed and keep going. And that's why we go throughout our entire lives never fixing our issues, and we always ask ourselves, okay, why are all the women bad? Why are all the guys bad? Et cetera, et cetera. It's like, that's what you're attracting, because that's where your brain is comfortable with.
So in your opinion, how do you think we fix it when they're being fed it on 8 platforms every day? That's where the struggle is for me. Is like, I'm worried about my son. I'm worried about having a daughter, with the way things are going, and the things that are being put on the internet. Like, some of the things that are on the internet now for an 8-year-old to see, I didn't even know about until I was like 16 or 17. So like,
in terms of the information that is out there and the creators that are putting out whatever they believe, that's still going to be there, and we can't block that out. It goes back to the parents. A lot of parents, you could say, won't even bring up certain topics to their kids, and the kids will discover it on their own. They'll talk about it with their friends and get involved in stuff, but the parent will be like, oh, it's too uncomfortable to have that conversation with my child, so they don't ever have it. And then that's in part another way issues come to be. So I think we might be in a little bit of a transition period where parents are going to need to step up. And first off, for the ones who aren't comfortable now in having those conversations with the kids, you don't need to become comfortable with it, but you need to do it anyway. And then the other part is that you might need to, unfortunately, have to do it at a little bit of an earlier age than you would have had to before. You might have had to talk to your son about sex at, let's say, 15 or 16. You might have to talk about with him at like maybe 12 or 13 now. You as a parent, you can only control what you can control, and you can't control your child, but you can try to instill beliefs that you think are healthy for them. You as a parent being aware of what's out there too. You say, hey, there's a lot of this stuff out there. There's a lot of creators who are saying this, this, and this. You can come to whatever conclusions that you believe, but a lot of these guys in this area, and this area, when they're saying this is not true, and this is why, and this is what is true, and this is why. They can consciously grasp the concept and be like, okay, no, this is why I shouldn't hook up with 30 girls in 1 year. This is why I shouldn't believe all women are the same. Parents are 100% not the sole contributor to how a child turns out. I mean, kids are in school for 7+ hours a day. They're influenced by their friends.
Absolutely. But I do think it starts with some parenting, because I do feel like kids don't have as much respect for authority or just adults in general as they used to. Are you Christian? I don't remember. Are you Christian?
I am not.
Okay. So I know in the Bible, it does say, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he won't depart from it. So if you do instill the correct things, right, and if you do instill the correct things in your child, when he's old, he's not going to change from it. And I think that's not only a biblical thing, but like even a psychological thing or a mental thing. If you try to instill the right things in your child, he may go away from it a little bit. He may listen to his friends sometimes, but at the end, he's still going to have those core values as he grows up and realizes for himself.
In that scenario, your son or daughter will always remember those values and those thought processes. They can go off and disregard them for a certain time period and do things, but then after the fact, they'll think to themselves, oh, wait, was this really worth it? Should I be doing this? Probably, like you just said, revert back to the truth or what's most best for them.
For everyone who's listening that, doesn't know what their purpose is, what do you think the first steps are for someone to really take that leap and try to find their purpose to start excelling in life?
My first question to people is, okay, well, what do you like? What are you good at, etc.? And some people have that and like, oh, I like to play sports or play music, or I like to do this. I think I want to become a mathematician, whatever, right? But then there's also the other side of it, which seems a lot more potent nowadays of, well, I don't like anything. I don't know what I'm passionate about. I have no idea what I want to do. This is all okay and this is normal because nothing in society really promotes you to discover what your passion is. As simple as it sounds, this is the advice that I needed to hear. I went through a period of years of just feeling like I'm lost and having no idea what my purpose is, having no idea of any light direction I want to go in. And when people hear this, it might sound surface level, but it's try new things. This is on a big scale and on a small scale. Tennis, and you never tried it, go play tennis. Go play a match of tennis. Go try this hobby. Go introduce this. Learn an instrument. And then also do some research on different jobs or different businesses or different ideas and figure out what you really believe in. So introducing new ideas into your mind, because it's very easy to feel lost and go throughout your days just doing the same thing over and over again. But similar to a point you made before, you have to go somewhere different to get a different result, or you have to think something different to get a different result. You have to try new things to get a different result. And so when you introduce new experiences, new ideas into your life, your thought process in your mind, I would say quite literally, expands energetically, and all the ideas and neurons that are flowing throughout you psychologically, everything expands and you start to gain a little bit of clarity. A lot of people will say, well, sometimes you can eliminate what you don't like in order to figure out what you do like. When I was in high school still, I remember a night or a day when I sat down with my friend in his room. I was like, I don't know if I want to go to college, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, all right, well, let me read out all the majors, all of this stuff that, is here. So maybe you'd want to do one of these, or you wouldn't want to do this, etc. So he lists out like 50, 100 of them, however many they are. And every single one of them, except psychology, I was like, I wouldn't want to do that. I still love psychology, and I love researching it and exploring it on my own time. So by eliminating everything I knew I didn't want to do, I was able to find what I did want to do, or something I was at least interested in. There isn't necessarily just one purpose in your life. I don't want anyone to limit themselves to saying, okay, I have one life purpose and that's going to be that, and I'm never going to change anything. It's just going to be that. I mean, it's like
you might have one major purpose, but like obviously you're gonna find other things you like if you're open to trying new things, as you said before. Just really diving deep into life. So here's my other question for you, and I'll answer it as well. I know mental health is becoming a more known and big thing. So for those men and women out there that are listening, because I've been there before, I don't know if you've been there before, but feel like they're drowning, feel like there's no hope, it's not getting any better, everything is going wrong in their life. What would you say to those people to try to help them, get on just a better path? I know you said try new things, but mental health is something that's actually extremely hard to beat. I want to be able to help all people, men and women, take a step towards, getting mentally healthy. And how could they do that?
I was diagnosed with depression a few years back. In those moments, feeling like you're drowning, life just feels numb. You feel as though there's no point in you being here anymore. Life just sucks overall, and it seems like there's no way out. When you're dealing with these mental health issues, your mind is just permanently, of course it's different for everyone, but for me at least, my mind seemed like it was just permanently in the gutter. Even if something that connotationally pretty good that would be introduced into my life, I would still view it as bad. And I would make it bad and not let it come and make my life better, right? And so there's this very, very difficult point when you're really in the gutter. What happened for me, there came a point where there was just a little bit of a mindset shift. And that little mindset shift is what makes all the difference. Certain opportunity, you could say, was presented to me And I watched a YouTube video, and then my mindset was like, oh, maybe I should. Maybe my life completely sucks. Maybe I should do this one thing for 5 minutes a day, and maybe it'll get better. And from there, everything seemed to get better. But anyway, the whole general concept of it is when you're completely in the gutter, your mindset is like this of just everything's negative. Anything that good comes, you just deflect it off. There's no way of getting it in. If you are able to just in the slightest bit open it up like this, and just of like, my life completely sucks, but maybe one day, maybe in 15 years from now, or maybe at some point, my life might be able to be a little bit better. If you could just ask yourself that question, and if you can imagine you waking up and having a perfect day, engulfing the feelings that you felt before in your life before you dealt with these issues, of happiness, of contentness, of being okay, might not even be the extent of happiness, just feeling okay. You can embark on that feeling within yourself, because you can create these experiences with yourself in your mind. I mean, we think about past experiences or future experiences, and an emotion evokes within us, right? So we can create these scenarios in our head, and that might be all you need to just get that little spark, right? And so for me, I stumbled upon a YouTube video, and it was weird, right? It seemed to just fall into place because all I was doing all day is I went to school, came home, did my homework, played video games until I went to bed, repeated the cycle 7 days a week. For some reason, right? You could say this was God speaking to me, the universe speaking to me, a synchronicity, whatever you want to label it as. And so, he's talking about these concepts, and it hit something within me. My life completely sucks. Well, maybe I should try some of this, or maybe I should just look more into this. And then I did, and it started to help. I died, and I was reborn, and I was just a different fucking person. You can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped, right? There's some people who are so, stuck in the gutter and everything sucks so badly that you're at a point where you arguably could say aren't able to be helped. And I was at that point where no matter what anyone said or did, nothing was able to get through to me. There gets to a point where whatever you're dealing with gets so numb that your mind makes a little bit of a leeway for small ideas to slip in, and for you to have some thoughts very occasionally of, okay, well, what if my life could be better, right? And this is a very slight occurrence, but I think after a certain period of time, this will happen. And then from there, if you can have a certain conversation with someone or look up, hey, how do I deal with this? What is one thing I can do for 1 minute a day that might make this better? And then try that thing. Taking actions when your mental health is really poor is difficult, right? So if everyone's saying, hey, just get in the gym, just make your mental health better, just do this, right? It's not that easy, right? You might not have even the courage to get out of bed, right? And so my thought process with that, but just to start as small as you possibly can, because small does not mean bad, and big is not always the answer, right? Most of the time when you're that suffering, you have to start super small. So like I said, find something, maybe it's meditating or a thought exercise that you could just do for a minute, just 1 minute a day. And you try that and you see where that goes, and you can make little bigger steps.
One of the things, if you believe in some type of entity, having a relationship with that. But mine is like, first of all, having a relationship with God, just trying to pray, because, eventually he will answer your prayers. You might think he's not listening. You might think you're going through everything. It's the worst, but he will answer your prayers. Like even you said, you don't know what it is specifically for you, but something brought that YouTube video to you to change your life, right? So that's just one thing. Whatever you believe in, really try to have a positive mindset about it. And I probably definitely have anxiety and depression, without a doubt. I will not go to the doctor for it, and I never will, right? Because it's okay to be on medicine. Let me make sure I get that clear. It is okay to be on medicine, but just for me personally, I don't want to be victim to a pill to decide whether I'm happy on a day or not. It's okay to have like counselors. Like I have a personal positive mindset coach. I have a coach that, I still struggle every day. You know what I mean? Like just because 99% of the time I'm Superman now does not mean I don't have my days, right? So I have a positive mind coach that helps me day in and day out whenever I need something. And I think a lot of people are scared to even say to anyone that, hey, I'm not mentally okay. And I think that's where a lot of it spans from, is a lot of people don't say anything until it builds up, until they're in that point of I'm drowning. Nothing anyone tells me matters. Because I've been there, talking to pastors and my mom and all types of things, and nothing hits me. It doesn't matter what you say to me. I'm in this rut, and I can't get out of it. Like you said, just that smallest step, and just that smallest imagination of what if it does work? What if I do this and I am really happy? What if I do this and my life completely changes? And just the smallest thing of a 4-minute YouTube video for you completely changes the trajectory of your life, right? So just taking that smallest step one day can send you on a marathon for the rest of your life, right? And I really think if a lot of people just take that step. I know it's scary. I know it's hard. I know it hurts. I'm telling you, every day still I struggle with anxiety and depression, going through things like, to be honest with you, man, obviously everything's not going to be perfect, but I know there's people out there that feel like this as well. It's like, you know, you see some people living life on easy mode because you're on Instagram every day and they have a Ferrari and they do this and they do that. And you feel like you have to, you know, jump through 50 hoops to make $2,000 a month, right? I know some people feel like that. But it's all about the perception, right? You're like, okay, I only make $5,000 a month, but I'm doing well for me and my situation. And I think a lot of it is just comparing ourselves to people that we're not and that we don't want to be. Right. So I think in totality, and we really agree on this, is just taking that leap of faith and that first step to really, you know, try and change your life will go a super long way.
People on Instagram who have nice cars and they're always promoting that they have a lot of money and stuff like that. You know, most of your heroes are bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And so
100%.
Anybody who's super successful in a certain area of life, all the power to them. And you have a skill and you have the talent and you have the work ethic and you put the work and you got there, right? But so we have, into your point about perception, we have this false perception of people on Instagram or people who are influencers of, okay, yeah, they're doing all this. They're taking pictures all day of themselves, this and that. Their life is easy, right? And maybe it is. But I would argue that for most of them, it is not as easy as we think it is, right? And so we look at what we can see of what they post and the success that they have, and we say, yeah, you know, it's like, you know, their life is, you know, it's easy now, it's fine, whatever. But you have no idea what the rest of their internal dialogue looks like.
Yeah, like we had mentioned a minute ago, man. I said a minute ago about, like, you know, you think these millionaires and these celebrities are having the best life and they're killing themselves. It's like you'll be like, oh, I loved him. What happened? Why did he commit suicide? He had the most money. He got all the girls he wanted. He did this, he did that, and he was still absolutely miserable and alone. Right. So I think it's just the perception that people are like, oh, we need to succeed now and we got to succeed and do and be like this and be like that. And it's like everybody's on their own journey. And I think if people really started to just focus on beating themselves and beating themselves what they were yesterday, instead of trying to be David Goggins, instead of trying to be Elon Musk, and just focus on being the best self, you might end up catching those dudes. And I'm not saying in the fact that you're being just like them, but I'm saying you might be just as successful as them if you really just focus on yourself.
A lot of people would say, all right, well, yeah, I want to be Goggins, or I want to be Elon Musk, I want to be blah, blah, blah. And it's like, do you really? Like, you see the success that they have, but you don't see the rest of what their life looks like. And it's like, you know, Goggins, for example, running tons of miles every day, working on his physical and breaking through those mental barriers every single day. Do you really want to run, you know, a 100-mile race in 150-degree weather and fucking suffer? Like, you really want that? You might say that you want to be this person, but if you saw the rest of your life, you'd be like, okay, never mind. Let me get out of here. I don't want anything to do with that. Elon Musk, for example, says in his interviews, people say they want to be me and that you wouldn't want to be me. You wouldn't want to be.
I don't even think he's like happy like that. He says that all the time. He's like, you don't want to be me. He says, I spend many nights alone. You can see the pain in his eyes. He has all the money in the world, can go anywhere he wants at any time, can do anything he wants anytime, and he sleeps alone. The richest man in the world, or one of the richest men in the world, at least in the United States for sure.
Yeah.
And he's miserable.
Yeah, right. In his case, he's willing to put his mental health and his happiness to the side in order for, you know, arguably speaking, you could say the good of humanity for what a lot of people could view his vision as. There's no black and white definition of success, of what you should or shouldn't do. I can't tell you should go and strive to be Elon Musk, but I also can't tell you that you shouldn't, right? It's up to you. Success is different for everybody, and you should just strive to be whatever you view as the best version of yourself or the most content or best life for you, right? Because that looks different for everybody. I think it's a disservice to instill in people, okay, you absolutely need to do this and you need to live your life this way. And if you don't, you're a failure, because then there's always going to be something wrong within their mental state. They're never going to be okay because they're not following what they truly want to follow, and they're not acquiring the success that they want or whatever success means to them. And so, you know, it's a hard decision to make for yourself, but it's the journey of self-improvement, you could say, is never ending.
It's never ending. One thing I really want to say though for those people is get a routine, because I think routines remove a lot of thinking for you. So like, you know what you're supposed to do every day. And I'm not saying for it to be monotonous and boring, right? I'm saying have a routine so you know, like, okay, I'm going to get up at this time. I'm not going to lay around today. I'm going to go to the gym and do this. And by the way, like, I'm not that red pill guy that's going to say go to the gym and get a 12 pack and look like The Rock. But what I will say is there are proven scientific facts that say working out does help with anxiety and depression. For those people, you don't have to go look like Goggins. You don't have to go look like me, you know. But anyway, just go out there, and really it helps relieve a lot of stress. A routine helps a lot. Like, and I'm not saying you have to do this specifically. I get up at 5 a.m. every day. I do my prayer. I do positive meditate, some type of positive affirmations or meditation every day. Then I'm eating breakfast. Then I'm, getting into my work. I'm hitting the gym. And before 9 o'clock, I've done more things than most people do their whole day, right? And I think if you can get in a routine of getting a lot done and feeling accomplished, that also will definitely help you feel like, you're living life and you're starting to get on your purpose for sure.
Getting up at 5 a.m. and doing all that is beautiful. We can sit here and say, okay, this is what you need to do, but it's not always what you need to do. Like for you, that is what works best for you.
And that's why I said everybody doesn't have to do this. But for me, that works. But someone else can get up. I mean, they don't have to get up early. They can get up at 8, get up at 10. Like, do what works best for you. That, wherever you're going to wherever you can optimize your life, do it in that exact way.
Sometimes you have the whole, all right, I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m., do this, and then, all right, I'm going to start my work at 10. There's another guy who's waking up at 9:55, smoking a cigarette and just getting straight to work. And it's like, that's not saying that's what you should do or shouldn't do. It just goes to show how we're all different. And of course, I can come on here on the podcast and say that you shouldn't smoke cigarettes. But if you're going to, then you're going to, right? You're living your life, you're making your decisions. Since I started scheduling out my days, unless I'm on vacation or something, it's difficult to go throughout a day without having things planned out, because then I'm all over the place. I'm like, all right, well, I feel like doing this now, but maybe I should do this. So I also have to get this done. It's like if you just sat for 10 minutes the day before and said, okay, 10 o'clock, I'm going to do this. 1 p.m. I'm going to do this. Then it's like, it's already set out there for you. You don't have to do all this thinking in the next day and be super anxious about it. You're just like, all right, I know I have to do this. This is going to get me one step closer to my goal. Spirituality. Did you grow up very religious, or did it kind of come to you at a different point, or there's times where you were questioning it and then you found God again?
I've actually grown up my whole life going to a Baptist church. Like since I was a kid, we go to church every Sunday, all that stuff. And, I got baptized fairly young, probably between 8 and 12. And it was like, I did that because I was supposed to, but it wasn't because I wanted to, right? So I never really had that relationship with God that I thought I needed to. So when I moved out, I went to another church and I actually got baptized again because I had kind of lost my way a little bit. I got baptized again, and then a lot of things happened to me to where I kind of got distant from God again, and then I stopped again. So the spirituality thing for me has been tough because I feel like I have to go through 50 hoops when most people have to go through one. When I pray a lot, that things don't get answered for me, right? And I feel like that's happened to me over time. So now I'm in the spot where, the last few years, about 2 years ago, I completely rededicated my life to Christ, right? To where I'm like 100% in. And it's been the hardest 2 years of my life. And it's funny because I feel like the more I go to him, the worse my life gets, quote unquote. And I'm not saying bad as in like I'm doing terrible. Mentally, and the things that I go through behind closed doors are so tough for me. And where I get frustrated, and I feel like a lot of Christians do, is like, God, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? Like, I'm here praying to you, praising you, and doing all this, and yet the guy who's a completely evil guy is living life on easy mode, right? And I'm here struggling day to day to get up out of bed because I'm going through these things mentally. I'm going through these things in my relationship. Or I'm going through these things in my business that I own. I'm going through, just in day to day life. So it's actually an everyday battle still to this day. Like don't get it confused. Like, I'm definitely for God. I believe in him. I believe his son died on the cross. I believe all that. But still on a day-to-day and having a relationship with him and, understanding why I'm going through so many hard things at one time. Like, even though I said I'm Superman, I still have kryptonite, right? So like going through that and still believing and still praising and still acting super happy when all that stuff is still going on is the hard part for a lot of Christians. And I feel like if we can figure out how to get through that part and see on the other side, like you kind of said, if like, that blessing is coming or, whatever you believe, like if you can just get to the other side of it, I think a lot of Christians, if they can figure that out, and even I haven't figured it out completely yet. So, but if they can figure that out, then, on that walk with God, it'll be a lot easier. God has a plan for you, right? And his ultimate plan is for you to be happy because he loves you, right? But along the way, there's going to be problems. And I've told my pastor this before. I told my mom this. I was like, Mom, I know God has a plan, but it doesn't mean I have to like it right now, right? Because you're going through all these hard times, all these hard things, and I'm still growing in my faith daily. And like, even now, I'm going through some hard things where I'm like, God, I don't know why you're doing this to me, or why this is happening, or why and let me not say God's doing this to you, why he allows some things to happen to you, but I do know ultimately I'll get through it, but it's still hard on those days when you're actually going through it. It's easy to say, just praise no matter what. But when you look on the other side of that door and you're struggling mentally, you feel terrible, or things are piling on you and you feel like you have 10,000 pounds on you, right? It's not as easy to just say that and go do it when it's of that magnitude.
I've adopted the mindset that absolutely everything, good, bad, in between, there's a lesson to be learned. And especially from our worst situations, there's more lessons to be learned usually than a good situation that we go through. There's also a lot of times and realizations that I've had in my life of it's kind of like, all right, God's making you go through all this sucks right now. And in the moment, you can't see, you don't have the answer. You can't see why it's happening. And on the other side, once things get a little bit better, you might be able to go back and think, okay, that's why that had to happen. Like, for example, for me, when I went through the depression and everything sucked for, a decent amount of time, in the moment, I was like, oh, why do I feel this way? This sucks. Like, I can't get out of it. Everything just sucked, and it seems like there's no way out. And then on the other side of it, after I was able to have certain realizations and put in some effort and make things better, well, now on the other side, I can look back and I just can say, oh, that's why I needed to be depressed. That's why I had to go through that. Everything started to fall into place. And I'm not saying I have everything figured out, because I absolutely don't. I'm learning new things every day, and I'm growing, and I'm going through things. Me running a podcast, recently starting coaching, me doing any other YouTube stuff, and me doing everything that I'm doing in my life now. I believe the only reason I'm doing it is because I went through the depression. So if I didn't go through that, I would be in a completely different place right now. I wouldn't be doing any of this. For anybody who's going through, certain tough times, it's like, adopting those mindsets and just thinking about that idea can definitely help you with the process. Although 100%, like you said, it's really hard to do when you're in the moment.
I know you're not Christian, but in the Bible, it even says it's going to rain on the just and unjust. So even you just saying like, everyone's going to go through hard times, no matter whether you're good, bad, evil, ugly. It doesn't matter what color you are. Everyone's going to go through life and have a hard time. It just depends on how you're willing to react to it. And when you fall down, are you willing to get back up or not? And that's the hardest thing for people to do. It's hard for me to do every day, but I dust myself off. Like I said, and I keep saying this, I tell myself I'm Superman, and I keep on going every single day. So God, I want people to know you're not alone in this at all. You're not alone. Everybody's going through something. Nobody's just saying anything. And that's honestly the truth.
Like we were saying before, on social media and in everyday conversations, I mean, there's so much stuff that goes through all of our minds that we will just never say to other people, and we'll never tell them about it, and they'll never know it happened. You're the only person that will know that it happened, or you're going through it, or whatever the situation or emotion is. I think a foolish thing for any of us to do is to believe that anyone has it all put together. This goes back to judgment. When we judge anyone for any small or big thing, 99% of the time we don't know what they have been through, and we also don't know what they're going through right now. So for us to look on the outside in and say, oh, I can't believe they're doing this, or they view the world this way, or this and that, it's like, well, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors, and this is where they're at in their journey right now. We have to accept that.
And I want also for everyone to understand who's listening on this self-improvement journey, there is never going to be a point where you get to a certain area, you're like, okay, I've got it all figured out. Self-improvement is going to be like a lifelong journey. There's going to be moments where you feel great, moments where you don't, but don't think there's going to be like this certain point where you're like, okay, here's my trophy, here's this, here's that, I've done it. Because there's always going to be something to do better. There's always going to be somewhere to grow. So I don't want people to get discouraged when they're starting their journey, thinking that they're going to get to some like magical light bulb point that they're not, right? It's going to be a lifelong journey. So buckle up.
That idea sometimes like turns people off. It's like, oh, well, why should I even get started at all? And it's like, yeah, you may not have everything figured out 100%, but you can go from having things 0% figured out to 99.9 eventually, right?
Yeah.
And then over time, you up the percent and you feel better and life just becomes better. And it's like, even though it's a lifelong journey, trust us when we say it, things do 100% get better, and they get a lot better.
Problems are always going to arise. Problems are always going to present themselves. You just got to be ready and have the ability to, handle those problems and keep pushing through. And it's hard for a lot of people. It's hard for me. It's hard for you. It's hard for everyone, honestly. But one thing I want to say is, people, don't be afraid to tell somebody. You don't have to do this alone. You really don't. None of this has to be done alone. I know that I'm in a group called The Standard with a bunch of men, and I know you saw over the weekend over my Instagram, me posting things, but I'm in The Standard with a group of men who are pursuing spirituality, physicality, being healthy mentally, and all these things, and we're doing it all together. We talked about things this weekend, like I said, doing things together, not being alone, telling someone, really being that Belgian horse. Like for a Belgian horse, for instance, a really great horse, right? Super big, super strong. But when you see it pulling a carriage, there's one or two of them, right? There's two or three of them, right? So even some of the best horse you can imagine, a Belgian horse, still does does things with people together, right? Mm-hmm. So just want to make sure that people understand wolves. A single wolf by itself is awesome, right? A single wolf by itself could probably kill 50% of animals, right? But why do they still hunt in the pack? Because it's easier to do things together.
Right.
And I really want people to know that there are people out there willing to help you. I know it may not feel like it. It may feel like everyone in your life is not there, but you can find somebody, and there's going to be someone to be there for you.
Yeah. There's always someone, and sometimes it isn't your parents. Sometimes it isn't your friends. Sometimes it's beyond that. There's always someone, even if they might not be in your direct range of contact at the moment. They're out there. Could be in an online space.
And I want to say this before we wrap up too. Thank you so much for having me on today. But for everybody listening, one more time, if you're going through something, you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, you feel like you're alone, look, my Instagram name is b.obey, b.obey. You can throw it up on the screen for me whenever you do your editing. Listen, if you're going through anything, please message me, because I know what it feels like to be 100% alone. And I'm not saying that your family's doing bad or your friends are doing bad, because I know you have all that. But if you ever feel alone and just want to have somebody hear you out, we can schedule a Zoom call, anything. b.obey, go give your boy a follow, help me out. And definitely, Brad, I'm going to have to have you on my podcast as well, brother. It was a good one for sure.
I appreciate it. I've absolutely adored this conversation.
Yes, sir.
Catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for coming, Brandon.
We out.